So I first encountered Tolkien's Middle-earth when I was 9 years old, and my Waldorf grade school teacher read The Hobbit to us in fourth grade. She read it out loud at lunchtimes. And I found myself having an experience that I didn't have the language for. There was a deep familiarity to this world and to this story where the names seemed familiar, the places, it was like it was echoing some deep forgotten memory in me. And I came home and I told my mother how much I was loving this experience of reading The Hobbit or having it read to me. And she said, "Oh, wait till you read The Lord of the Rings." So it was a few years later that I read The Lord of the Rings. I was 13. And I was just in time because I read it just before the Peter Jackson films came out. So I got to have that very rich experience of reading The Lord of the Rings, having my own kind of direct images emerge of the world and the characters. And then these films came out. So it just completely swept the collective. And I, was kind of able to be in this saturated experience of Middle Earth for many years. But something interesting also took place for me where I felt like I was having a dual experience. I was a teenager going to high school in San Francisco, the usual challenges and complexities of being that age and growing up and insecurities and so forth. And then there was this other layer of reality where I felt like some part of me was always dwelling in this enchanted realm of Middle Earth. And I, it was just kind of like this overlaid reality that was reflected in my journals. Um, my friends certainly knew of, and my teachers knew of my interest in Tolkien's writings, but it was clear that at a certain point, everyone else who'd been really interested in these stories kind of moved on with their lives, and I didn't move on. And I didn't really know how to leave the world. And it so it became something a little bit more of an internal secret relationship, that this was just something very special to me, that again, I didn't have this language at the time, but it felt very numinous. It felt like um, I had this kind of sacred relationship to this place, to this story. And as I got older, it just became more and more private. When I went off to college for my undergrad degree, I thought, it's time to leave these things behind. I really tried to commit to the disenchantment of modernity. And but it never really worked. I knew that I loved this story. And then I came to graduate school and I was getting my master's degree in the philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness program at CIIS, which is where I now teach as a graduate professor. And I took a course with Jacob Sherman, who would become my dissertation chair. And he assigned in this course on the creative imagination, which traces the history of the philosophy of imagination from Plato and Aristotle all the way up to the contemporary era. He assigned Tolkien's essay on fairy stories in that class. And I realized that not only was Tolkien reflecting on how he was writing his stories, but that there was a whole world of scholarship on understanding the imagination and on understanding the kind of experience that had happened to me as a teenager that I didn't have the language for. And so this awakened me to the realization that I could actually study Tolkien in graduate school. And suddenly all my papers were Tolkien plus whatever other subject it was we were working with. And this eventually became the subject of my doctoral dissertation, where I found parallels between Jung's Red Book and J.R.R. Tolkien's Red Book of Westmarch, which is his name for the story of the Lord of the Rings within the story itself. So it's been a long journey. That it started off with having The Hobbit read to me, and then went through kind of a profound but inexplicable kind of deep imaginal experience in my adolescence, and then finally has entered more into a professional academic sphere, which I'm so grateful that I actually didn't have to leave that part of myself behind.